Okay, this out-of-body experience I had yesterday at about 6 a.m. And I actually got up about 5, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. So, but I finally went back to sleep about 6 or maybe 6:30, something like that. And then I realized I had got abducted. But I was talking to him, I was talking to Joel, will you come give me an out-of-body experience? Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But, so, today he gave me a really weird, I could talk about, I need to do another video about some of those other weird things that, well, I know it was him that gave me that virtual reality type of dream this morning, but I didn't get an out-of-body experience this morning. But it wasn't, the dream wasn't really a dream, it was more like virtual reality. But I didn't really get an out-of-body experience this morning, because I don't really call that, that was just more like a virtual reality dream. But like, that other out-of-body experience, he did this very same thing when he placed me in my grandma's house. Was that about a month ago I had the out-of-body experience? Has it been a month already? But anyway, yeah, it was this one right here. He did the exact same thing. He made me fly down into a neighborhood. I think it's still up here. Let's see, where's the template? Oh, okay, maybe it's not up here. I thought I had it on my desktop. But yeah, he made me fly down. I was astral traveling, and then he made me, like, bam, pause over, well, he made me fly past the neighborhood first, and then he, made me zoom down into the neighborhood, and then he plopped me down in my grandma's house. And at first I wasn't really sure if it was Joel that gave me that one, but I'm pretty sure it was. Because normally he does more sexual things, and that one wasn't very sexual. But it was him, I know it was. Now I know it was him. And when he plopped me down in my grandma's house, and that video was about a month ago, where he made me throw the glass on the floor, and it shattered and everything. Okay, so anyway, so he finally gave me another out-of-body experience yesterday, about 6 a.m. And, except this time, he abducted, instead of like, abducted my whole astral body or whatever. Like, sometimes, what they'll do is, and I did start feeling that sensation, like that weird dizziness kind of sensation, where I know it's them trying to, like, they like, instead of, it's really weird, like they can take your whole astral body out many ways, and you could totally feel them doing this. Or they just kind of like suck your brain consciousness, your ethereal brain consciousness and mind out. And you can feel the exact sensations too when they do that. I know when they're about to do that. But I was talking to him, asking for an out-of-body experience, and I did kind of start feeling that weird dizziness feeling. So that was like 6:30 a.m. yesterday. So yesterday he abducted me, like I say, a little differently, and he's done this many times before. And that one being also abducts me that way. Venus, she abducts me that way too. But yeah, so yeah, it's different. It feels a little different than your whole astral body, like traveling. It's like it's your whole astral body traveling if they abduct you that way. But if they don't abduct you that way, then when they travel with you, you could just tell it's your whole, it's like it's weird. Your brain is just traveling, like your mind and your brain is just, bam, traveling really fast. And, but then once they put you down into the scenario, it still totally feels like you're out of body and everything. And, but it's just a little, they take me out of body like so many ways. I like the astral traveling better. That's more fun. But if they do it by, they suck your brain consciousness out, that's okay too. It's just more fun, actual astral traveling with your whole body instead of just your mind. But like I said, once they place you down into the scenario, it's still the same. It still totally feels, well, like I say, sometimes those can feel a little more artificial than other experiences. But this, you know, once he plopped me down into the virtual reality scenario, it still felt the same as being out of body or whatever, just like being at my grandma's house. When he abducted me like that and placed me down in my grandma's house, it was no different. Except, like I say, the experience I had yesterday, it maybe just felt a tad bit more, not very much more, but a tad bit more artificial, sort of. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it. It still felt real in virtual reality, but just maybe a tad bit more artificial than, you know, the abduction to my grandma's house, which was about a month ago, when he placed me down into the den. Okay, so anyway, so like, okay, so then about 6 a.m. I felt myself traveling at a high rate of speed, like my mind traveling, and it just, all you see is like grayness or blackness when they do it like that. But sometimes you can, I forgot what I explained before, but you can hear certain noises sometimes. Crap, and I can't even remember now. Because before with Venus, I can't remember the noise or the sensation I was hearing, but sometimes you can hear weird noises or whatever. But anyway, okay, so I was traveling with my brain consciousness. He abducted me that way. And they don't even have to be remotely in your bedroom or break into this dimension at all when they give you these experiences. He hasn't came to my bedroom in a long time. You know, but he can still give me many out-of-body experiences like that. You know, without having to come to my bedroom or whatever. But anyway, okay, so anyway, on the show, I was just watching the show Breaking Bad or whatever, and of course they did a scene where they zoomed down into a neighborhood. And of course, even before I've seen that show, they've done that same scenario to me many times. Sometimes it was Joel, other times it may have been other beings. But I do believe it was Joel that gave me this, I know it was Joel that gave me this experience, because he turned me into a hermaphrodite again. He always turns me into a hermaphrodite. And he makes me do a lot of sexual things like the other people and stuff. And he did in this scenario as well. But yeah, so anyway, so it was just kind of funny because in that scene in Breaking Bad, it was zooming in on like a swimming pool as the camera zoomed down into a neighborhood. And like I say, they would give me experiences like this, you know, zooming, you know, where I'm flying down into a neighborhood or whatever, before I even seen anything like that in shows or whatever. So anyway, but this is such a weird thing, you know, because they're kind of unique. The beings they can put unique things in every scenario. Okay, so he abducted me. I was traveling at a high rate of speed, like brain traveling, my mind traveling. And then next thing I know, I'm zooming straight down into a neighborhood. And when I looked at all the houses were like fake. There may be better words to describe it, but they're like cartoon. They were like, more like houses that looked like that right there. But I put a lot of Crayola drawings, but it was actually more like this. Like cartoon kind of houses, all different kinds of houses, cartoon style, like fake style. And I was like, wow, you know, this is really weird. And so, okay, so next thing I know, after he showed me all those houses, the cartoon kind of houses, bam, he like places me in what seems like the YMCA, but he doesn't tell me exactly what building I'm in or anything. Sometimes he'll tell me, or they'll tell me exactly where I'm at, like, you know, they'll tell me exactly I'm at the Y or whatever. Sometimes they just somehow program me to already know that. But it seemed like the YMCA, but he didn't really tell me, you know, what building I was in or what place I was in or whatever. Okay, so then, of course, I'm totally, you know, out of body, and I'm standing around what seems to be, and I used to be a member of the YMCA, what seems to be outside of the women's locker room. And the women's locker room is pretty dang big. And in the scenario, it was, you know, it was just like that. Okay, so anyway, so I'm standing there, and I was like, wow, okay, so now I know that I'm out of body, so I'm going to start flying around. So I lifted my arms up, and I started flying around at that point, about 3 or 4 feet off the ground, or about, I guess, 4 feet off the ground. And I go into what seems like, you know, like the YMCA women's locker room. And I was flying, I was still flying at that point. I was floating, if you know what I mean. I was floating and flying at a low rate of speed. And then, so I go inside. I don't remember opening any doors or anything, but I go inside what seems to be like the women's locker room. Okay, so then I come near, and there are mirrors. There's a bunch of mirrors over to my right in real life. Well, it depends on which way you're going, but when you enter it from that way over to the right, if you go in the front door, so to speak, if you go to the right, or if you look to the right, there's a lot of mirrors. Well, in the scenario, the mirror was on the left. And at that point, when I came to the mirror, the big mirror on the wall on the left, I was standing at that point. And I looked over to my left, and I saw myself in the mirror, except it was so weird. Like, my hair was bushier. It was bushier, and like it looked like I didn't put any grease on it, because most of the time I got to put like grease on it. And but it was like I washed it, but yet it was a lot thicker, drier, and bushier, like I hadn't put any grease on it. And it was a little longer. But yeah, and I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was just like, I kept expecting to see, I was like, wow, you know, I was thinking, you know, how, wow, I can't believe I actually got, you know, an out-of-body experience again. And so I was looking in the mirror, and I actually saw myself, but for some dumb reason, I was wanting and expecting to see Joel in the mirror, but I didn't. I only saw myself. And so, because there is this other experience that I haven't talked about yet, which I need to, and I wrote it down, so I'll remember every part of it since I actually wrote it down. But that being, he was a flat-faced being, and he showed himself behind me when I looked in the mirror. Like I could see right through him, like through my face behind me in the mirror. It was weird. But that was by a different being. That wasn't Joel. But so it's like, you know, I've had a similar experience where I, you know, looked in the mirror and I saw the reptilian in the mirror behind me or whatever. So anyway, I did not see Joel in the mirror, but I did see myself. But like I say, I was expecting to see Joel, but I didn't. Okay, so anyway, so then I raised up again and I started flying kind of past the locker room. And in real life, if you go past the locker room, you could get to the pool. And I got to the pool. I was flying past the locker room, you know, into where the pool is, and I just kind of slammed down into the water, and, you know, my astral body or whatever. And then over to my left, I went ahead and got out of the pool fast, and over to my left, I just started sitting there. And who was there was this Middle Eastern guy that looks just like the guy that I just saw at the bookstore the other day, begging me for money, but I didn't give him any. And it's funny because he looked exactly like that guy too, except the guy that asked for money, the real guy, he was a little bit younger and a little fatter and a little shorter. I can tell that guy's not as short. But I swear to God, he looked just like him, like almost identical. And I just, you know, punched in Middle Eastern men on the internet or whatever. So anyway, he had curly hair like that. Yeah, he's like, I know you may say no or whatever, but I need like, you know, $5 to go to get a motel or whatever, but I didn't give him any money. I just always say, sometimes I do give him money, but I just said that all I had was credit cards. Okay, so anyway, so then Joel, okay, so then me and him were sitting there, me and the Middle Eastern guy. Well, like I said, Joel, he copied off the guy that I just saw 2 days ago, or a day previous before the experience, which was yesterday, at the bookstore. So he put that man into my scenario. So anyway, Joel, oh, okay. So now it gets really, really, really sexual. So I gotta, I got to, you know, delete all of those sexual experiences out. But anyway, so it got really sexual, and he, you know, I looked down. He's always turning me into a hermaphrodite, but he hasn't done it. It's been a while since he's done it. And so like I said, he turned me into a hermaphrodite. That's why I know it was 100% him that gave me this experience. And like I say, I'm pretty sure he gave me that one to my grandma's house as well about a month ago. So anyway, he turns me into hermaphrodite. But like I say, it was way much more sexual than that. But I got to delete those parts out. And so then there's like a big dildo laying there. And then, like I said, I'm going to delete a lot of parts out. There's like a big dildo laying there. And then he pretty much makes the Middle Eastern guy be my bitch. Like I wasn't the bitch. He was my bitch. Like he was the bitch. And so Joel made me do, you know, some weird stuff to this man with the dildo and stuff. But I'm deleting a lot of parts out. But by the way, he did actually get me off. Before I started doing all the sexual things to the man, he did get me off in this scenario. And that's his style. He gets me off a lot when he does abduct me. He'll make me, you know, climax and everything. Oh, out of body style. But anyway, that was my